Welcome to the Crestron Home, now in next session. I'd like to get serious for a second. Okay, now that that's done, let's do something a little more fun. In this session, Jason Oster will talk about the dynamic Crestron Home platform and the tremendous opportunity it offers residential dealers to take smart homes and revenues to new heights. Then Chase Bouchard will show you some of the powerful new Crestron Home features, followed by a look at some exciting innovations on the horizon. Lastly, you'll have an opportunity to have all of your questions answered in real time by Crestron technical advisors. With that, let's get this session started. Seriously.
Hi, I'm Jason Oster, Product Manager for Residential Solutions. Thank you for joining us today. The world of custom integration has changed rapidly, and Crestron is again at the forefront and driving that change. At the heart of control is the user experience. Without a beautifully refined user experience, all the boxes you sell into an equipment rack doesn't really mean a thing to the homeowner. With Crestron Home, we put the users first, from the apps on their phones, to their TSWs on the wall, to their iPad, to their TSR 310s, and even to the Horizon keypads on the wall. Every touch point with the user is a well thought out experience. Because of this experience being built in, you can save time on every job since you are not spending the time painstakingly creating touch panel projects. Instead of drawing UIs and programming, you can now simply configure the system. As we'll show you in a few minutes, as you're adding things to the system, everything is updating live, meaning you can test everything as you go immediately, without waiting on build, compile, uploads, that in the past were multiple minutes, even for a very minor change. Just because it's easier than ever to deploy a Crestron Home system doesn't mean that it's less powerful. Since the initial launch, Crestron Home has become much more powerful. So now it can cover even more jobs. For those of you already using Crestron Home, you've seen, even since the initial launch in September, that there's been a steady stream of updates. Every 30 to 90 days, there's a new update with even more features and more devices. Since the UX model has shifted to the app model, in some cases, even without you rolling a truck or logging in remotely, the end user from their phone has been able to see these new features. In some cases, the end user can see improvements without you spending any time on it. For example, when dark mode was released on iOS and Android, the end user could simply download the app from the App Store. No other firmware updates, no truck rolls were required. Things like that will keep them coming back to you, as well as giving you additional referrals for the future. Now Chase is going to show you a demo of Crestron Home.
Hello, my name is Chase Bouchard, Residential Solutions Engineer for the Northeast. My primary focus here at Crestron is to educate our dealers regarding the nuances and benefits of Crestron Home, while continuing to be one of the leading experts in the platform. To reiterate what Jason has previously mentioned, Crestron Home is easy to configure, quick to deploy, and provides a consumer with a slick user interface that is intuitive and great to look at. My goal today is to do what I do every day and show you how to create a basic Crestron Home system in under just a couple of minutes. The demonstration that we prepared for today includes lighting, climate, video distribution, streaming audio, and lock integration. While we'll be unable to show all of the nuances and capabilities of Crestron Home in today's short demo, I believe this is a good introduction into the platform. On my right, I have the Crestron Home Setup app running on my iPad. This is where I'll do the majority of my configuration through this demonstration. On my left, I have my TSW and iPhone running the Crestron Home user application. Quick note on this is that regardless of device that the end user is going to be interacting with their system, the experience is going to be the same, whether it be our touchscreens, iPhone, Android, or iPad. So let's start. Let's start going and building our Crestron Home system. The first step, as you can see on the setup app, is to start to build our house. I'll go to build house and begin to add a room. So I'll give it a name. And for the purposes of this demonstration, let's add a room name called Next. And as soon as I hit go, you'll see on both of the end user interfaces, we now have a room called Next. And it's almost instantaneously, if not instantaneous. Next thing would be to start to add the devices that we have in front of me. So I'm going to go back and go to step 2. This is where we pair our devices. Once we pair our devices, which in this case will be our RF devices, I first select the room and move to the Crestron Infinite EX devices. In here, you'll see for time purposes, I've already acquired my RF devices, but we'll begin to add them. So first, let me add my lamp, hit the plus sign, give it a name called lamp, and press OK. What you'll see is in this living room, the lights tile pops up again almost instantaneously. Our next step would be to add our lock. So I'll go to lock, hit the plus sign, give it a name, lock, and again, another tile populates in the living room. Now that we've finished with our Infinite EX devices, we're gonna move to our wired and Wi-Fi devices. So I'll go to Crestron Wired and Wi-Fi, go to our internal CrestNet gateway, wait for this to load, and add our Crestron thermostat. Regardless of device, it's going to populate almost instantaneously. Give this a name, Therm. Press OK. And again, we have a new tile on our interface. So now that we've added our thermostat, let's move to our Sonos device. I'll hit the Sonos tab. You'll see that it's already discovered my Sonos player. Hit the plus sign. In this case, it's a speaker. Press OK. And now we've added our Sonos device and we have an audio tile to play music. For the last portion, we're going to be doing the video distribution. And again, for time purposes, we've already added the devices necessary. In this case, I have 2 NVX encoders tied to my Roku and Apple TV, and then I have 2 NVX decoders that are attached to the displays. Now that we have added those video devices, we're going to go to step 3 and build system. We're going to go to source routes and first go to the equipment room where I've added my sources and NVX encoders. From there, I go to the Apple TV, select the HDMI output, and assign it to an input on the NVX. I'll then go to my Roku device, go to the HDMI output, and assign it to the NVX for the Roku. In the living room, I have my 2 other NVXs tied to the displays, NVX display 1 and 2. I actually already have those connections on the output to the displays, so we're ready to go. You've probably already seen it, the video tile is populated, and we've added all the devices for this demonstration, and we're ready to present. So let's see them work in real time. I'm gonna stay here and we're gonna first unlock or lock our door. I hit the lock, and you'll see that the lock will turn. Our next step would be to tap on the lights tile and see the light come on. So if I do that, we now have a light. We'll move to audio. I'll hit the audio tile. I now have Sonos as an option, and I'll select Sonos and it will begin to play a little bit of Beethoven for us. The last portion will be video. You'll actually see here, with the most recent release, we've added the ability for multiple displays. So I have 2 displays in the room and I can actually route individual sources to each display. So let me do that. We'll go to display 1, select my Apple TV. I'll now go to display 2 and select my Roku. And you'll see behind me that I have 2 separate sources. You can see that with just a little bit of time, this has been 5 minutes of me adding the devices and me actually interacting with them, and we have a working system. For those out there who have not done a deep dive into Home, rest assured that this team continues to find new ways to provide and create resources to make learning and deploying Home easy. There are countless members in our team working to make this platform better, listening to your feedback, and providing you support on a daily basis. It's hard for me to express how excited I am to continue being part of this team and to continue to help you become successful with the platform. Thank you, and I look forward to meeting you in the future.
Thanks, Chase. I wish we had time to show you more. For those that haven't used it yet, we encourage you to get a Crestron Home processor for your showroom or even for your home, since using it is probably the best way to learn and really the best way to understand what the system can do. Now, let's talk about the future and what's next for Crestron Home. As you've seen, Crestron Home as a platform is great as is, but what is next makes it even better. Extend the functionality of Crestron Home with a new technology that we call Crestron Home Extensions. Crestron's always been known for high-end custom, to be able to do virtually anything. Next, you will see Crestron Home continues in the tradition of custom. For most jobs, the basics of lighting, shading, and AV control, as you saw from Chase, we already have that covered very, very well in Crestron Home. But what about the ultra custom? You know the jobs I'm talking about, where every gadget in the house they want controlled with their Crestron system. What we're talking about here are all those miscellaneous devices that you get asked to integrate. These types of integrations were not possible in Crestron Home in the past. But up next, they will be. Our goal is that Crestron Home has so much built in and can be extended that over time you can do all jobs with Crestron Home, as opposed to some still being done with simple windows. This lets you standardize on Crestron Home to train everyone in your company on one unified platform. So what is an extension? Think of it as a driver that can also have a custom user experience. For example, The existing system already builds a UI for lights, shades, sources, etc. But now if you have a one-off device not yet in Crestron Home, since VT Pro isn't a thing for Crestron Home, you have no way of drawing a custom page. Until now. Let's say you have some smart appliances that your consumer wants to control. If it's not a device that Crestron has already created an extension for, you can commission a CSP to create an extension. Or if you have C# programming expertise in-house, you can create one yourself. For example, we're partnering with Bosch, and one of the first Crestron Home extensions we are creating is for their espresso maker. We give you an extensive library of widgets as the fundamental building blocks, various buttons, gauges, temperature components, pop-ups, and more. From these building blocks, you could build a custom UI to control anything from an irrigation system to a weather station to a smart appliance. It's only limited by your imagination. Crestron will be building some of these extensions as well as other third-party driver developers. To get extensions, they're simply drivers up on the driver portal. So it's as simple as adding these devices to your system, just like adding a TV driver. Either pull them down from the cloud, or if you've created your own, you can easily sideload the driver by dropping the files onto the Crestron Home processor. As you can see, Crestron Home extensions are a very exciting addition to Crestron Home. Let's take a look at a quick demo. What we're looking at now is the home page. So in this case, I've added the Crestron Home extension to a room since it's an espresso maker. So let's drill down to the kitchen where I've added the device. So you can see here the tiles in the kitchen. So these are the standard things that you expect and that you're used to in Crestron Home for lighting tiles. In this case, we have an audio tile. This is where you'd see shading and things like that. But you can see here, we have a coffee machine. This is an example of a Crestron Home extension. You can customize the icon in the extension, and you can change the text. Let's drill into the coffee machine. Now you can see an example of all the widgets that we have. So in this case, we have some toggle buttons, we have a gauge that shows you the progress, and some other objects for buttons for setting the coffee type and the quantity. And this is just an example. There's an entire library of widgets that are available. So for example, if I wanted to change the beverage type, let's say I don't want to drink coffee tonight, I want to drink an espresso. You're in full control of these menus as you're building the driver. Let's say I want to change the quantity. I want to make a 2-ounce espresso. You can see things are updating live as we go. You can see the status on the tile that shows the coffee machine is idle, so it's not yet making our coffee. I can simply tap the tile, and now I can start controlling the Crestron Home extension and make some coffee. And I'm simply going to press start. So you can see certain controls were disabled as the machine is starting to do its work, and you're going to see the progress bar move as it's brewing the coffee. Now you can imagine these same elements could be used just as easily for a sprinkler system, pool and spa controller, or other devices. It's a standard gauge that you can use for virtually anything. All right, it's done. Let's have some espresso. That's good.